You ever notice how the really big shifts in our lives, they almost never start with some huge explosion? They start with a quiet decision. A small choice made when nobody's looking. And that's exactly what we're going to get into today. The invisible, almost silent power of small discipline.
All right, let's just get right into it with a question that honestly, every single one of us has asked ourselves. You know that moment, right? You're tired, you're just not feeling it, and you think, does skipping my workout or my reading or that little bit of work, does skipping it just this once, does it actually matter? And then, right on cue, that little voice in your head chimes in. It's that comforting lie we all tell ourselves. Come on, it's just one day, it's not a big deal, I'll be back on track tomorrow. It feels so harmless in the moment, doesn't it? Almost logical. But this single thought, this is where the whole story begins to unravel.
Because let's be real, that one time is never really just one time, is it? It's more like a vote. First, it's just a single choice. But then, the next time you're faced with it, making that same excuse feels a tiny bit easier. And soon enough, that becomes a repeated pattern. Before you even know what's happening, that pattern has dug its heels in and become an ingrained habit. And eventually, all those little habits, they quietly weave together to define your entire lifestyle. The cause is almost invisible, but the effect? Oh, the effect is undeniable.
You know, this right here really gets to the heart of a huge misunderstanding we have about how success actually works. We're sort of trained to think it's all about these big, dramatic, monumental efforts, these huge bursts of intensity, the overnight success story, the radical transformation. But the reality? The truth is that success is almost always the quiet result of small, consistent, and kind of boring daily choices. It's built in the unseen moments, not the big flashy ones. So the big question is, if consistency is so powerful, why are we so bad at it? Why do we always ignore it? Well, here's the thing. It's not a moral feeling. It's not that you're lazy. It's actually a cognitive bias. Our brains are literally hardwired to notice the big, flashy event. See, our brains are basically reward-seeking machines, and they want big, immediate hits of dopamine. And a tiny 15-minute workout, that doesn't do it. Reading 10 pages of a book, it just doesn't feel like a win. The progress is so small, so gradual that on a day-to-day basis, it's practically invisible. So what do? We overvalue the all-out, intense effort, and we completely, totally undervalue the quiet power of just showing up again and again and again. And this quote just nails the root cause. Ben Lionel Scott said, "Your problem is not laziness. It's the worship of comfort." That decision to skip just this once, it isn't really about being lazy. It's about choosing immediate comfort over the slight, and I mean slight, discomfort of discipline. And that one choice, when you repeat it over and over, is absolutely devastating. That constant pull we feel toward comfort, that's what makes this next idea so unbelievably important to get. Because while our brain might just dismiss that small, insignificant choice, well, physics and math certainly do not. This is where that seemingly tiny daily decision reveals what it really is. It's not just addition, we're talking about compounding. Let's make this real for a second. Imagine you get just 1% better at something every single day for a whole year. I mean, 1% sounds like basically nothing, right? But here's where the power of compounding kicks in, where each day's tiny gain builds on the one before it. The growth isn't just a straight line, it becomes exponential. So by the end of that year, you're not 365% better, you'll be nearly 37 times better. That's the explosive hidden force of small, consistent effort. And this is the part we cannot forget, compounding is neutral. It works both ways. Improving by 1% a day makes you 37 times better. We got that. But what about getting 1% worse? Those small compromises, the skipped days, the just this once moments. Over a year, they don't just set you back a little. They chip away at your progress, your skills, your trust in yourself until you're left with almost nothing. The two paths, they start so close together you can barely see the difference, but they end worlds apart. I mean, this quote says it all, doesn't it? It's not about the action itself being some heroic, extraordinary thing. The magic isn't in the workout, or the page you read, or the one task you finished. The magic is in the consistency. That's the thing that transforms something ordinary into something truly remarkable.
Okay, so we get the principle now, but how do we actually apply it? This is where we have to shift from just understanding an idea to taking action. And it's not about just gritting your teeth and trying harder. It's about building a smarter framework.
Man, this is such a crucial piece of truth about achievement. We all have goals, right? But winners and losers often have the exact same goals. The goal to get fit or build a business or be a better person. The goals aren't the problem. Goals don't determine who succeeds. You don't just magically rise up to meet your ambitions. What really happens is you fall to the level of your systems, the habits you have in place. So the real question isn't, what's your goal? It's, what's your system?
So here's a simple system to think about. First, stop trying to do a complete life overhaul in one night. Just stop. Start with commitments that are so small, so ridiculously manageable that you can't possibly say no. I'm talking 5 minutes of exercise or reading one single page. It's not about the result, not yet. It's about building the identity of someone who shows up. Second, build habits that automate these choices so you don't have to rely on willpower. Third, and this is key, make your priority never missing a day, not how hard you go on any single day. Consistency will always beat intensity. And finally, you got to reframe how you think. That little feeling of discomfort, that's not a stop sign. That's the feeling of growth itself.
Look, the real goal isn't to have one heroic, perfect day where you crush everything. The goal is simply to not break the chain. It's a total shift in perspective. Stop focusing on doing more. Start focusing on skipping less.
And all of this, it brings us to the most personal and honestly the most powerful part of this whole idea. Because discipline isn't just about getting results. It's about forging your own identity. Just let that sink in for a second. Every single action you take is a vote for the person you want to be. When you choose to do that small, disciplined thing, you're not just checking a box. You are casting a vote that says, I am the kind of person who shows up. I am disciplined. I keep promises to myself. And those votes, cast day after day, slowly but surely, change who you actually are. So, as you go through the rest of your day, every little choice you face, the choice to scroll or to read, to put it off or you just do it, to choose comfort or to choose discipline, each one is a ballot. And the question is simple, but it changes everything. Who are you voting to become today?